Welcome to another edition of the Knicks Syndicate pregame show. Today, I'm joined by my guy George from Into the Knicks Verse. George, how's everything with you?
Very good, very good. Feeling okay. Surviving the booster. Unlike our third part of this, Foxy not feeling that good today, so he's taking the day off. I hope he feels better soon.
Facts. Hopefully, Foxy feels much better. He's gonna take the day, and hopefully, the Knicks can go out there tonight and get him a win and help him in his recovery process. But George, we're in the middle of a win streak, but Knicks fans don't seem too happy.
No, and because Knicks fans are too smart. We know that these two games aren't indicative of a team that is playing well and winning. We're just playing well enough to win over, severely depleted teams. I mean, Minnesota was they had none of their three bigs, their primary players, primary scorers. And then Atlanta didn't have Trey or Gallinari. So, but that win was definitely a better win. Last night's win was it wasn't, it just wasn't. I know you feel kind of the similar way, but I'm worried.
Yeah, it was last night's game was definitely not a win that really was encouraging as a Knicks fan. I think that was a game we should have won handedly. There were a lot of players who a lot of Knicks fans probably didn't know before heading into that game last night. And then you got Greg Monroe, who they got up off his couch to come and play some solid minutes for them. So the Knicks really should have been able to dominate and impose their will on the Minnesota Timberwolves. That wasn't a NBA roster. I was telling you and JD during the game that Timberwolves team looked worse than the Detroit Pistons team we went up against, and the Pistons were bad in that game. So the fact that we allowed them to hang around as long as they did is not something that was really encouraging to me. But hopefully we'll be able to come out tonight and have a much better performance. Now, anything stuck out from you from the game last night, George?
Yeah. One thing I didn't really shout out enough, even though it's not like he had like an outstanding night or whatever, but Emmanuel Quickley actually had a pretty good game. He deserves a shout out. I'm very pleased by how he's coming along. Actually, we were able to build that 17-point lead because he was on the floor. He was one of the key reasons. His the way he keeps the ball moving, his defensive intensity out on the 3-point line. He's just really becoming a really solid guard, just all around. I'm really excited about him, and his shot started to fall a little bit. I mean, if his shots returns to that 40% 3-point shot consistently, we've got something really nice there with Quickley.
Yeah, I think Quick was solid. You were a little bit more ecstatic about his performance than I was. Not that he played bad.
Well, it was his first game back too.
I hear you. Yeah, that too. Yeah, true. Nothing really jumped out to me. He had a solid stat line. What was he? 2 of 5 from the field, 2 of 4 from the 3-point line. Did have 4 assists. He was running the second unit out there, so I did like to see him given that opportunity, and he played well. But if you look at the second unit, I mean, we can probably start with Tibbs and his rotations. You look at this second unit. And there were some guys that I think should have played a lot more minutes. Quick being one of them, and also Obi Toppin. So, George, how did you feel about Tibbs's rotation, and is it encouraging? Is it a encouraging sign moving forward with some of our young guys that are nipping at the heels?
Well, no. By judging from last night, no, it's not encouraging. However, I will say this in defense of Tibbs, possibly because I was pretty hard on him last night in the recap. I don't know if you caught it, Keith.
As you should.
Yeah, I was pretty hard. But now in reflection, I'm thinking, I didn't realize it was his first time back in Minnesota since he'd been fired. Yeah.
He wasn't coaching against anybody that was there when he was there. So it's not like that was on the court.
Exactly. And, we haven't strung 2 wins together since October. So I think he leaned in too heavily into the starters like Randle and Walker in terms of minutes. Probably stuck with them a little longer than he should have. But I think in to satisfy his need to win this game And then he thought, you know what, he probably had a read that on tonight's game, you know, the next night's game last night, that Detroit was going to be depleted and possibly, you know, he's thinking, hey, I'll play Randle. I'll play the starters as much as I want tonight, knowing that I have this great bench and those guys can take a bigger minutes load tomorrow if necessary. So that's the only thing to kind of like soften that a little bit. But Obi, 11 minutes. I mean, look at IQ, only 15 minutes. But look at him. He was a plus 12. He led the team in assists in just 15 minutes. And Toppin was tied for second with 11 minutes.
He led the team in assists because this was another performance by us where we had 20, only had 20 assists in the game. So it really wasn't hard with 4 assists to lead.
Yeah.
That's what, 20% of the team's total right there?
Yep.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I would have liked to see Obi. In the second quarter when they took him out, I think that's when things kind of went to hell. They took Obi out. We saw a couple of bad plays. And
in the second quarter? Yeah,
in the second quarter.
In the third, was that the fourth quarter when he took him out? When was that? Yeah,
the last time I believe it was the fourth.
Yeah. That at that point things were a little bit shaky. So I know everyone jumped on Thibs for taking Obi out at that moment, but I can see it. Thibs, he said, I'm not going to play with fire. I want to guarantee this win. And in his mind, Julius is his engine to guarantee that win. I mean, we can have a whole discussion about whether that's the right mindset now. I mean, I tweeted out today some pretty revealing stats about Julius and his game and how he actually impacts losses and wins directly. So, I mean, that's a whole other discussion, but I can see the mindset, Obi, he had hit that 3. Did he hit? Yeah, he had hit that 3, but then he made that turnover, but again, the double standard is just not, it's not jiving with the fan base.
Yep.
We're seeing it now.
Randle playing terrible and Obi's not getting the light of day.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate.
Now if tonight we struggle and Obi doesn't, and Randle struggles again like he did last night, and Obi doesn't get at least 24 minutes or so, or even anything 20 plus, there's going to be a problem. There's going to be a problem. Fan base is going to revolt. And I really think we live in a different era. I hate to say it for these coaches that all, the Van Gundys and all that, those guys who I love, they came up in a totally different era. Look what we're doing right now. We get to have an awesome conversation with each other about the team we love, and we have our great support group here. Everybody here. We share information. We tweet things out. Our voice is amplified. You can't ignore it. And when you do, and you don't succeed, you threaten alienating the fan base severely. So times are different. Thibs has to become aware of what we are saying. And even if he doesn't agree, he has to address it. Because, I'm not oblivious to him convincing me of something else. If he says to me, hey, George, look, it's a long season. I'm looking at that last third of the season. I need to find out who are going to be my guys for that last third of the season. And I need to rotate guys around. I need to test them in different situations and whatnot. And I'll be like, okay, all right. Well, you know what? It's a guy who once won 60 games. Okay. I'll give him, okay. And he took us to the 4th seed last season. Okay. But we don't hear anything.
I mean, but the thing is, Joe, the only thing I would say to counter that is the team looks better when you have guys like Obi and Quick on the court. So if Thibs is really trying to win every game, why isn't he running the best lineups out there? And I think that's what's agitating Knicks fans. We're seeing how that
100%
second
agree.
Is playing, and you've got Thibs playing Randle 38 minutes. You've got Kemba. He didn't have a great game. We'll get to him a little bit. He
this is the Kemba we're going to see minutes. A lot of. Just so you guys know. This is what we're going to see.
And what did I say, George? He's going to be another 3 and 10, 3 and 11 type of game. We can't have those, and that's exactly what he went out there and did.
And Crazy. 2 assists.
And 2 assists, yeah. We can live with the 3 and 11 if he's getting a triple double. But when he's not, being an impactful player on the offensive side of the court, that's when we start to have some trouble. Luckily, the Timberwolves didn't really have the talent to really attack us or to make any gains out there on the court. But
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is not going to succeed against quality teams, and I think that's why Knicks fans are upset because we know. Yes, this is a nice stretch against games, or a nice stretch of games we're playing against inferior talent. But when we start going up against teams in the East that we're going to be competing with for the playoffs, it's not going to bode well for us in the long run.
Not at all. Can you imagine if any, even if just two of the three big Timberwolves that were out last night played, we would have lost this game.
Mm-hmm.
Possibly.
Cat plays. Mitch is probably not getting 18 rebounds.
Yeah,
Julius
possibly.
isn't getting
Honestly,
15.
If just one, if let's say if either Edwards or Towns had played last night, we might not even have won the game. Just one of those two. The way we played. Now, would we have played differently? You never know. That's the Jekyll and Hyde aspect of this team.
I mean, if one of them played, we definitely would have lost. Look at the free throws. The free throws should have really kicked us in the ass. That should have made it put us in a situation where things would have got a little bit nerve wracking because we can't continue to miss free throws like this. What did we start the game? 1 of 5, 1 of 6 from the free throw line?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
it was brutal.
It was brutal. One thing, just to echo back to the young guys. The young core on this team. Yeah, I mean, definitely we drafted very well, but Thibs has to get credit for how the young guys play. I mean, he's just not fiddling his thumbs, in his office while they're just doing random shoot-arounds. No, he's making sure that they are practicing specific drills, that they're understanding their role specifically so that they can blossom. This whole narrative that Thibs can't coach young guys doesn't really hold water when you look at his actual career success. The youngest MVP. Look what he did with Noah. Look what he did with Jimmy Butler. Look what he's did with IQ last season. Look what he did with RJ last season.
First.
Yeah, RJ last season. You have to, but that's part of the dynamic, the earning the trust. The problem is we're stuck right now because our engine is sputtering something very, very pathetically, honestly. I mean, look at that stat line, guys. 5 of 20.
1 of 5 from 3. You like the 15 rebounds, but you got 2 assists and 4 turnovers.
Love the 15 rebounds.
And then you add that to the body language you're seeing from Julius Randle, who's supposed to be our leader out there on the court. It's a bad recipe.
Yeah, it's distressing, man. It's really distressing. I'm having a hard time with it, honestly. To be honest with you, not to be overly dramatic about it, but last night I tweeted this out today, and we talked about this in yesterday's pregame. Ironically, so Knicks won last night for the very first time this season when Randle takes more than 18 field goal attempts and hits less than 33% three-pointers. We were 0-5 until last night. Last night was the first time we won, and like we just said, if any of those three big Timberwolves had played, we might not have won last night. So we could have been 0-6 in those games.
And we were playing against replacement players.
Yep. Pretty much. I'm waiting for Keanu Reeves to, bust out his Jordans.
Lace him up.
Yeah, he's all bullet timing.
Hey, you never know. If Prince was still around, he probably would have laced it up.
Yeah.
He's balling. Game blouses. That's a classic. All right, George, let's give a couple shout outs to the chat.
Yes.
Don't want them to feel like we're not paying attention to them, but definitely reading.
We are, man.
Sincere the Genius is saying, let's smash that like button. Also, John Ayala is saying, I agree, George. We need a new age coach like Kenny Atkinson. That's a fact. That's who I wanted us to hire when we had the vacancy, but they opted to go with Tibbs, and I didn't think it really matched with the trajectory of the franchise at the moment. What do you think about that, George? Was that the coach you wanted? You were pro Tibbs, or did you want another?
I was definitely open to Kenny or a coach like that, but Thibs, I was totally happy with Thibs, and I knew that he, remember our franchise was. We were in a nosedive. We'd just come off Fizdale, and no ill will to Mike Miller or whatever, but he gave his chance. He did a yeoman's chance, but and before that, what do we have? We had Hornacek. We had who's the other dude who dates his teammates' wives and
Fisher.
stuff? Yeah, Fisher.
Yeah.
It was just, and then Kerr spurred. He took the Golden State the job instead of us.
Mm-hmm.
We weren't looking good, so Thibs brought a certain sense of gravitas to the franchise, and it actually worked last season. We were a great story. We went from being predicted to win. What were we predicted to win?
20 something games.
20 something games. We ended up the 4th seed. So in that respect, it did work out.
It was a magical season.
Yeah, it was a magical season. But it didn't come without issues. And now those issues that we had last season, which was the problems with the point guard, the over-reliance on Randle, the need for RJ to level up. What else? His rotation issues, his unwillingness to let Obi learn, give him extra minutes so he can really work his way through his issues. All those things are still with us in a different form in a lot of ways, but they're still basically with us now. So he's got to adapt. But yeah, I definitely would have been happy with Kenny Atkinson.
Yeah, Kenny Atkinson was my guy. After you saw what he was able to do with the Nets and how players like D'Lo were able to develop and things like that, I thought he would have been great for a guy like RJ. And we brought in Tibbs, and I'm hoping Johnny Bryant ends up having some kind of effect on RJ and our guards. But fingers crossed, we'll see. There's still some inconsistency with some of our young players, so hopefully Tibbs turns out to be the right coach for the job. It's just I think these players are going to learn from actual, minutes on the court. They got to get battle tested. And you've got a guy like Obi who's out there balling, and you only pay him 11 minutes, or you've got Quick who's giving you a lot on the court. You're only going to play him 15, 16 minutes. I just think that's an opportunity missed, especially when you look at the talent that they were going up against. That was the type of players, especially with Julius Randle, struggling, Kemba struggling. That was the type of game where you can get these guys back into the flow, back into the mix, fresh off COVID, and try to get into a groove. But to play them only 11 minutes, it's hard for a player to find some kind of rhythm out there if he's not playing in extended minutes.
Absolutely.
Okay, so but let's get a little positive. Let's talk about somebody that was balling last night. Our guy, Mitchell Robinson.
Our guy. And you know what? He's been coming on of late. He's been waking up.
Yeah, I got a visual for us if my computer decides to rock with me. But in the meantime, George, how did you feel about Mitchell Robinson's performance last night? And is he finally, is this his breakthrough moment during the season?
He's like you and I talked about this. I feel like he's starting to turn that conditioning corner. We're seeing a little more spring in his vertical game. He's starting to be able to catch passes more. That was another thing. He was, for a while, he was starting to felt like it was Nerlens out there. So, because one thing
Nerlens is rubbing off on him negatively.
Yes, I know, right? Because that's one thing I love about him is that he can catch all kinds of crazy passes, but not this season. And possibly that could also be the condition. He's just not able to, just move and move his body, get it in front, so he can actually be in line to catch those passes and then doing something with them afterwards. I love the way he's just cleaning up people's mistakes. As Berman pointed out in his article, two
of those were off air balls.
Yep, 2 were off
air
balls.
He pointed that one out. One was from who? Randle, and one was from Kemba.
Kemba and Randle shot an air ball each, which Robinson converted into points. And the unbelievable positive impact that has on an offense can't be understated. When a guy can just clean up the messes of the other 4 players on the court and convert that into points directly. It's not like he's getting the rebound, passing it all out, swings around, and then maybe we get a bucket. No, when he has the ball down low, he connects 78.2% of the time. I was looking at all these different, like there's the last 10 games, he's connecting on 84.1% of the time.
last 5, he's connected on 88, which is what these stats are. I probably should have made a note, but for anybody watching in the chat, these are
Oh,
his
these are the
stats
last
over the
5.
last 5. Yep, over the
Gotcha.
last 5.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so over the last 5, he's averaging 9.2 points per game, 10.2 rebounds per game, point 0.2 assists per game, which you're not going to kill him. But like you said, he's been extremely efficient throughout this stretch. He's shooting 88% from the field, and he's averaging 1.8 blocks per game and 1 steal per game. So Mitch has been a monster. I'm encouraged by his performance last night. I just want to see it against marquee centers. We've seen him get eaten alive with players like Jokic, like Turner. So for him to go out there and dominate against inferior talent, that's exactly what I want to see from Mitch. So that's a positive. Now I want to see if he can carry that type of play or that level of play against better centers out there. Can he do better guarding the 3? He's guarding Greg Monroe a lot out there. Greg Monroe even gave him a dap for how dominant he was late in that game. Remember, I sent you a text after Mitch had drew the foul on the free throw line. Greg Monroe reached over to him and gave him a little high five. I guess congratulations for the way he was being dominant down there. So for him to be getting that type of respect from a player like Greg Monroe, even though he's a replacement player, I think it's dope. It's showing that Mitch is progressing, and he's not really going to have a matchup tonight that I can say is a nice barometer to where he's coming from or where he is now. But I still want to see Mitch be dominant against inferior talent, against replacement players.
Look, before he can give you this kind of performance against top shelf centers, he's got to do it against the lower shelf centers first.
Facts.
He wasn't even doing that before. So now we're getting that. So, little by little, he did have a nice game against Embiid early in the season.
His individual defense, yep, he was solid in that game.
Yeah, individual defense, yeah. And the other thing, one thing, the blocks are kind of low, but I think a lot of that is because people are just not attempting to challenge him. Once he gets 1 or 2 blocks,
they get hesitant.
Yes, exactly. His greatest blocking ability is deterring attempts like that. So that's starting to come back. That was the Mitch of old that we loved.
Yeah, but he's getting there. Do you think Mitch could be the starting center of our franchise for past this season?
Past this season, yeah, I could. It depends on what happens with the other players, because the way the NBA is structured right now in terms of how you actually go deep in the playoffs and win, you really do need a 5 who has a move or two, who can shoot a jumper, hopefully can hit the 3, at least competently, maybe 34% of the time. But the thing is that what Mitch does, if he leans into his athleticism, the way we're starting to see, he kind of makes up for that lack of that, because of what we just talked about, how he cleans up the mistakes of others. So it's a tricky thing. Yes, he could be, but whether he'll be given the chance, I don't know. A lot of people still frothing at the mouth for Mr. Turner, who is currently leading the robust Pacers to a 14-20 record. So I don't know what this fascination everyone has with Miles Turner, but whatever.
I'm not going front, George. I did try to trade for Miles Turner myself. Mitch was on the table
team?
too. Yeah, it was. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie.
Well, fantasy wise, yeah.
After last night's game, though, I canceled that trade. He's not even gonna have a chance to respond.
Yeah.
If Mitch can continue to perform like this, I'll be extremely happy. I'm a fan of Mitch. I think he can be the answer for us at center long term. We just need to see more consistent play from him. And if he's going to play like this, he'll be a problem in the league for a long time, and he'll be a very rich man too.
I mean, can you imagine if, like, when he's on the elbow there, he caught the pass or was a dribble handoff, and he just turned and shot the J and hit it?
Hey, his free throw percentage is abysmal over the last 5 games. I think it was like 27%. You can't. I'm not gonna say go shoot an elbow jumper. You shoot 27% from the free throw line. He's got to work on that.
He's got to work on it, but
that's definitely something I would like him to develop. But there's nothing
it's
I
year
really
4.
see from him.
It's year 4 though, and he hasn't
Hasn't even attempted.
Has he even attempted one jumper this whole
I haven't
season?
seen it. I haven't seen it in his career.
I've
Let
seen it in
alone
his
this
career.
season.
I've seen him do a little
Summer league
7-footer.
doesn't count. I mean, I'm regulation basketball.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Under
I've
the
seen him
whistle.
do. I've seen him do a little 6-footer, 7-footer here and there, or he does a little baby sky hook. But
That
it's
is
like
fine. I want to
it's
see
like
a jump
once a
shot.
month. But we haven't seen it at all this season.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
maybe he
if
lost
he's able to develop
confidence.
that, he'll be dangerous. Dangerous.
Yeah. And he's still young.
Shout outs. Yeah.
I know this is his 4th season.
23?
He's 23.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think.
Let's see what other chats we've got.
Yeah, shout out to the chat.
Yeah. Anthony said he wants Miles Turner. Fans want Miles Turner. He knocks down the three, I guess.
Yep.
Wouldn't be the guy I go for first. But if he upgrades the team, I'll live with it.
Hey, there's a possibility that we could end up with Miles Turner and still have Mitch. And Mitch would be the backup. So we get the athleticism, the potency, the glass cleaning that Mitch gives us, and then we still have the 3-point, stretch 5 aspect that Turner gives us when we need that. So there's a possibility, and that I've heard chirpings that acquiring Turner doesn't necessarily mean we give up on Mitch.
I think it does, because I don't think Mitch is going to be cool with coming off the bench, because Miles Turner will be the de facto starter. And at the end of the season, when it's time to re-up with Mitch, he's going to get offers from other teams to get an opportunity.
Yeah, it depends on that. I think,
that's where you might have a little bit of an issue. The fact that Mitch feels like he's a starting caliber center. And even if he's in a nice situation here with the Knicks, he's going to want the payday of being a starter. Look what Nerlens Noel is getting paid, and he's not even starting. So if I'm Mitch, hey, I want my money, 15, 16 mil at least. If we're paying Nerlens, 9, 10 to be a backup?
Yeah. I think, but what if we got rid of Nerlens and gave that 9, 10 to Mitch as the backup? Also, Turner isn't necessarily, I mean, he gets
all the time.
Yeah, exactly. He's not a workhorse per se either.
Right. Okay. I hear you. So George,
here's the other thing. Here's the other thing. If things keep trending the way they're trending, with like Cleveland, the Jared Allen, Mobley, 7-footer duo, how do you combat that? Be interesting to have Mitch and Turner sometimes. Let's say we're in a tight playoff series, like situational like that.
Well, Tibbs threw Mitch and Taj out there at the same time. So
yeah,
but the way Turner's able to shoot, at least he can give you some floor spacing.
Yep. And he's got a better handle than Taj and Mitch.
I mean, he's better overall than Taj. You don't have to specify. We know that. Yeah. Shout out to the Taj, though. He's holding it down. The wily veteran on the squad.
Absolutely. Well, Taj will be coaching next season on this team.
Yeah, hopefully we can free that money up and bring somebody else in. Yeah. So, George, let's pivot real quick. Let's talk about some of our young guards, and that's Deuce and Grimes. Have you ever heard if Deuce will be available? I know he's
I've heard of those guys.
Are you familiar?
a little bit familiar with Deuce and Grimes time.
Yeah. So with Kemba out there playing 33 minutes last night, he's given the go, I believe. I think Berman tweeted it before we came on the stream. So
yeah,
Kemba will be playing.
Has anyone? Actually, I saw we surveyed 100 was out there. He usually is awesome.
Yeah, he's always holding it down for us with the
keeping
lineups.
us up to date. Have anyone's heard anything about the lineups? Just drop it in the chat. It'd be awesome. But it does
think Berman
sound like
did tweet that Kemba was going to start.
He tweeted that he was going to start, or he tweeted that he's not on the injury report as of 1:30. Is that?
I think he wrote Kemba's a go.
Okay.
Somebody tweeted Kemba's a go. You know what? I got the internet. Let me Google while we discuss. So
the internet's a wonderful tool.
Yes, very, very. I don't know how we got along without it, but I think honestly, for my entire life, the internet. But no, when did the internet start?
It started in the '70s. Remember?
Okay,
Remember
yeah,
Al
that's
Gore
before
said he
me. Then.
invented. Al Gore said he invented the internet because
So
he
yeah,
signed
internet was around long before me.
yeah he signed the
Let's
bill that
see.
helped fund it, so he took credit for
Mm.
it.
Hey, when you're running for when you're running for office, you gotta hold on to anything.
Oh wait, I just saw something. I just clicked on it, and yeah,
Yes,
Kemba
Stephon
starting.
Bondi, Thibodeau said Kimber Walker will play tonight on a back-to-back.
Yep. Yeah.
So
Kemba doesn't want to risk getting
yeah,
benched. He doesn't want to risk
again,
it.
Max. But with Kimber starting, he's going to play a major role. But let's talk about Deuce. We should expect to see Deuce get some
Deuce.
minutes tonight. Hopefully, fingers crossed. You never know with Tibbs. So, what do you, if Deuce is given the opportunity to come in and contribute, what are you expecting from him tonight? I think this is an opportunity for Deuce to feast. Remember in the G League he was balling. It's
Yeah.
not much different from tonight's game. Other than now
Yeah.
he's got NBA talent around him on this side.
Honestly, he's gonna defensively. He's gonna bring it like he always does, and that's just something. He this guy is going to be a very, very high level number one defending guard. I mean, he is outstanding out there on the floor, especially high up. He gets right in the grill of the offense, the ball handler. Love his disruption, his ability to anticipate the other player's moves. He clogs passing lanes when he's off ball defending. He's just outstanding. He's the perfect type of Thibs guard in terms of defense, and then he can also shoot the three.
Mm-hmm.
So I expect him. I mean, I'd like to see him get at least 15 minutes tonight. I'd like to see him out on the backcourt, actually with IQ, and then possibly
With
those guys
Grimes.
close the game out.
I like that.
Yeah,
I like that. A
yeah,
Deuce and Quick
yeah.
closing lineup.
I
Who
mean, it
else would
makes
be on the call
sense.
with them? RJ, I would assume.
Yeah, RJ. Yeah,
Randall, and
you
then
need
Mitch.
RJ for the size and his ability to distribute and ability to just kind of take it to the hole when you need
Defend.
it. Yeah, and defend. Yeah, we might see. Here's what we might see tonight. We might see. The starters will come out, but I think Thibs is not going to wait till. What does he usually wait till? Like the 8-minute mark before he starts subbing people out.
Yeah.
We might see it a little bit early, especially if there's a nice. Let's say we get like a nice little 10-point lead in the first 5-6 minutes of the game. I can see. For all we know, I could even see Deuce being the first guy to come off the bench.
Well, last time it was Grimes. I think
yeah.
It all
But that was
depends on the
because
flow of the
because
game
of
because of
the
foul trouble.
Yeah, that was because of the foul trouble.
Yeah.
But it could be, Fournier could be, putting up bricks. So I know a lot of So I expect the young players to get some decent amount of minutes tonight. And I mean, Obi's got to get 20, man.
You say that, but I thought that yesterday, and he only got 11. He got half that, which is ridiculous to even think about.
Yeah,
I mean, you look at what some other players in this draft class are doing with the minutes they're being given, and I don't understand why Obi can't get a lot.
What's your best guess as to that?
As to why Obi hasn't been playing?
Yeah, enough. I mean, enough minutes.
It's a complicated question. Like I told you, I think Tibbs is somewhat a little bit of Julius Randle's flunky. And with Julius Randle being the star of the team and everything flowing through Julius, you really don't want to eat away at Julius Randle's minutes. You don't want to further, I guess, hurt his confidence. And when you're looking at it like that, it's now where do you find minutes to give to Obi? And in order to do that, you'd have to cut some minutes at center and maybe try to operate with a small ball lineup, but then Obi hasn't really been knocking down his threes. So there's some justification as to why Tibbs doesn't want to play Obi too many minutes because he has to defer to Julius Randle. But I still think it's BS. I think you should find minutes to get Obi out there. Obi's not a type of player where he's a minus defensively anymore, or as big of a minus defensively, where you have to curtail his minutes and try to save him from himself at times. So there's no real justification as to why Tibbs isn't playing Obi, but you can see how you can look at it through Tibbs' eyes and kind of see where he's coming from.
Yeah,
it's a tough spot for him to be in. Honestly, you've got Obi being managed by his boss's son, And then you've got Julius Randle, who just got a big contract, even though it's not a max contract, but he got a solid contract.
Yeah.
And trying to manage those two guys who both play the same position, it's difficult, but I still think it's being mishandled at this point.
Yeah, it is difficult. He's in a tight spot. I've been commenting on this all day on different videos and tweets and stuff. Thibs was placed in a tight spot with the Obi draft pick in general last year. Actually, it's weird to think the last season started about a year ago, exactly, almost December 20th.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah. And the other thing about Obi and IQ, they really, there was no summer league. There was very little last year or the year before when they were rookies. So it was hard for Thibs to get to know them, to understand who they were. And, Obi didn't look that great in the first couple months of last season. He was a slow starter. So it took a while to earn that trust of Thibs. But he should have it by now. Because when he comes out onto that floor, the team takes on a different tone. Now, it's not just him. He just becomes this awesome piece that clicks with the other young players on the court. And their energy level just kicks up to another level. The ball moves. The crowd gets excited. The energy starts percolating, and all that is real. All that amounts to positive results on the court. And I hate to say it, but it's like almost the opposite right now with Randle. When Randle gets the ball, I think there's a collective tightening of the spine. Yeah, tightening of the spine on every Knicks fan. Like,
everybody gets tense.
Yeah. How's he gonna,
play? He's Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. You never know which Julius Randle you're gonna get on any given night. Yeah. I think that's the problem when he's the engine of this team. Because for role players who are inconsistent, just because they're role players and that's why they're in that position, the fact that they can't be consistent every night, you're looking at the guy that's supposed to be a star and he's performing like a role player. So now who's really the head of this ship? You're looking at Thibs, and Thibs isn't trying to curtail any of the nonsense Julius Randle's doing out there on the court. So I can understand why teammates can be a little bit frustrated, and Bagley even reported on it. Yeah. Players being frustrated with Thibs not treating everybody equally.
It's funny when he was that a tweet or
that was a SNY tweeted it, but it was really a video.
Yeah, the video. Yeah, it's interesting when he came out and said that because it was basically echoed the sentiment of the majority of the fan base. I mean, we're also frustrated by that double standard.
Facts.
I don't know how many times people ask me, why did he pull Obi? And
it makes no sense.
Yeah, I gotta just scratch my head like, and come up with some, forced logic.
Thibs is sticking to his rotations. It's Thibs being Thibs. That's usually what I go with. Yeah. Thibs being Thibs. But let's talk about our guy Quentin. He started the game on fire and then he kind of cooled off. He scored all his 11 points in the first half.
Yeah, it was all first half.
He got a solid amount of minutes though, 31 minutes for the game. How did you feel about his performance and what do you expect from him tonight?
I thought other than that one, I'm sure there were a couple others, but there was one possession where he got burned. I forgot what player just drove right down the middle. And he was like, I think he got caught off guard. And there was nobody there to clog up the paint on our end. So he got burned there. But other than that, I didn't know. I saw him playing, his really high level defense that he gives you. He's actually a pretty big guy. He's got big legs. He's got a solid frame, and he moves quickly enough for that size. He's actually, quickly enough. He's not slow footed in any way. Usually guys like
not like Evan,
right?
Evan's slow footed.
Yeah, Evan's a little slow footed. Yeah, he is. But you know what, Evan? Sometimes when he's just one-on-one, I think Evan doesn't. I think he has a problem understanding the defensive scheme and when he's going to get help or when he's supposed to switch. But when he's one-on-one on a guy, he can definitely make it difficult for that guy to get off a jumper. But if the guy's super fast, he'll just go right by him. Yeah. But if the other guy has speed, if the other guy's not a burner, he can disrupt them enough. We saw he did it with Tatum. did with Tatum in that one possession, and it was just him. It was just him and Tatum one-on-one, and he helped stop him. That the Celtics they're in trouble, man. Celtics are in trouble, and yet we have the same record.
Right?
Yeah, and they beat us.
The fact that they lost, right? They beat us and then lost to the Timberwolves. I mean, of course, they didn't have who wasn't playing that game. Tatum was unavailable, if I'm not mistaken.
Just Tatum. Yeah.
Yeah. So they had Brown, which I think should have been enough to beat that Timberwolves squad.
Totally.
I mean, we beat them with Julius Randle playing terrible.
Right. I wonder. I was thinking about it today. I was kind of like fantasizing, thinking, well, what if Randle got a little mild hit of Omicron
with the conspiracy theories.
Yeah, got a little mild hit of it. Had to sit out for 10 days, and Obi got the chance to start. That would be
worst case scenario for Randle.
Yeah.
Trade block.
Yeah.
At that point, you have to.
It'd be well, you never know. At this point, it looks like every single player is going to at some point get it. I mean, that's where we're trending.
Yeah, I mean, if we, knock on Mr. Glass or knock on glass,
knock on wood.
You don't want that to happen to Julius Randle, but that would be a worst case scenario for him to miss.
But do we really? Time. Do we really don't want that?
Listen, I'm not wishing illness on anybody, but
no. We're just talking a mild, like a light dusting, He just has a little sniffle, maybe one or two coughs.
Just asymptomatic, but he can't get on the court.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so we'll run with that. But if Julius Randle were to miss some time, I mean, and Obi were to go off, it's hard to bring Julius Randle back, because then you might have what happened with Ja. Ja went away, got injured, hurt his knee, I believe, and then the Grizzlies went on a run. He comes back. You've got fans saying, hey, we were better without you, and this is Ja Morant.
Yeah.
So imagine what could happen if Julius Randle were to miss an extended period of time, we were to go on a run, and now try to bring him back, reintroduce him to the team, and we go back to the troublesome ways that we've had, and like in games last night and things like that. The fan base would go crazy. At that point, the franchise would be in a real tough space.
Yeah, but Obi would get 30-something minutes, or at least 5 games.
Here George goes.
Yeah, can you imagine? He averages 25, 12, and he's on ESPN dunk highlights every night. Shaq and Chuck.
You got to be careful with those
giggling,
because the minute he misses one of those, Tibbs is going to be on him. So you got to be careful. If he's going to go up for one of those dunks, he better be 100% sure he's going to complete. Because I can only imagine Tibbs's face.
He's done 2 already this year.
2. I'm just waiting for it. Tibbs is going to get real pink in the face and smoke out the ears.
Dude, Tibbs lost it last night when Obi turned it over.
Yeah, but that was a regular turnover. Imagine.
I know, exactly. Can you imagine if it was one of those plays? And it was a tight game? I don't think Obi would try it in a tight game.
You never know. Obi seems like he likes to have fun.
True.
He's enjoying himself out there on the court. So,
but just to get back to Grimes and to recap that, I mean, we nailed it with this draft pick. I was a huge fan of Quentin during the summer, as you know. I put out the draft videos. He was on my watch list. I thought he would be a perfect fit for this team. He went into the combine and blew everyone off the floor. Blew them off the floor. He was like by far the best player at the combine. And we saw in summer league the guy, the 7 3-pointers that we saw in his first start. He was doing that stuff in summer league. The guy is a legitimate elite 3-point shooter. He's worked on it for years. He has great size. He gets great levitation when he releases the shot, so it's hard to block. He has great vision on it, and he has the single most important aspect that you need to be a great 3-point shooter, which is 100% confidence. Right. He is fearless. He lets it fly. If it misses, doesn't bother him. He moves, goes back, plays tight defense, comes back, he'll shoot it again, and that's what you need. And we were getting that from IQ last year, but I'm seeing less of that fearlessness from IQ this season. But hopefully that can return, because he's also an outstanding 3-point shooter. He has more range than Grimes.
Yeah,
But we got some nice guys.
I think Grimes would argue that point.
Yeah, he might argue it. But we've seen
Grimes
IQ hit. We've seen IQ hit like a 38-footers and stuff like that. I haven't seen Grimes hit.
We've seen one or two.
Yeah,
he's knocking him down like Steph.
Yeah, and Grimes actually has a better release shot than IQ does. IQ has a little bit of a forward. Better. He has more of a push shot. Kind of releases it out, which is why he needs that extra space in front of him, which is why guys can crowd him. But because he's developed his handle, he he can do that sidestep and get a shot.
He's getting real shifty now with his handle.
Yeah,
I've been liking that.
Yeah. Barry Grateful saying, he's a heaver, but it's not. It's the way he shoots.
He's a heaver.
He's a heaver. Yeah,
that's
he
a good
heaves. Yeah, I was a heaver.
Chat,
I was a heaver when I was younger.
I'm a post presence. You don't want to see me on the
you just play down low.
Yeah.
I mean, I can. Yeah, definitely.
Because growing up, I was taller than everybody for the most part. Yeah,
I miss playing.
Also, let's talk about some of the players that aren't going to be available real quick, just to keep everybody informed.
Oh yeah, you guys have the list? Yeah, here.
Yeah. This might not even be the full list. It's like more players keep going. Pretty much majority of the people that played against us, what was it, last week, aren't available.
Yeah.
Cade's not available.
Stewart.
I don't think
Hayes played. He's not available. No, Josh Jackson wasn't available.
Yeah, he didn't play.
Trey Lyles was.
Yeah, Lyles played. Joseph played. Saban Lee played. So yeah, a lot of the players that played against us last week aren't going to be available tonight.
Yeah.
So this should be a game the Knicks win handily. I mean, I say that, and even I don't have that much confidence in it because you never know what type of team we're going to see game to game. If we see the same team we saw last night, I mean, it would leave the door open for the Pistons to win. But then again, I don't think the Pistons are going to have enough talent on the court to really capitalize.
If somehow we lose this game, I cannot even.
Hey, bro, it was getting shaky last night. I was nervous.
I was nervous,
man. For a little bit. You start losing a 17-point lead against people you never seen before. It's like, oh man, I don't know where this can go. All right, let's see. I got some of the stats.
Just the this was tweeted out by Knicks on MSG. In the last 3 games, Grimes is 15 for 34 from the 3-point line. Ooh. That's some sweet. That's some high level elite 3-point shooting. And it comes in the package of a top level, a high level defender.
Which is exactly what we need on the perimeter.
Absolutely 100%.
So I tried to. It's really hard to compile stats for these teams when the rotations and players available fluctuate so much. But over the last 5 games, I've got the stats for both the Knicks and the Pistons. You can see points per game. We edged them slightly, 105.2 to 103.8. Assists per game. They actually over the last 5 games have had more assists per game than us. 22.8 to 21. And then rebounds. We've been pretty solid all season, and especially in the last 5 games at 48.4. And the Pistons only average 44.4 rebounds per game. And when it comes to shooting,
that Taj as the 3 helps us with that rebounding.
Hey, Mitch helps us with that rebounding. How many times did he hit double-digit rebounds over the last 5 games? What, 2? Or is it 3?
Mitch?
Yeah, I know he had a game where he had 8. He had a game where he had 3, and then he had the 2 double-digit rebounded, but I can't remember the 5th game. But neither here nor there. So when it comes to field goal percentage, we're shooting 43.8%.
He had 18, 8, 3, 14, 8.
Last 5 games. All right, that's probably why I couldn't remember the other 8. So field goal percentage, we're shooting 43.8% over the last 5 games. Meanwhile, the Pistons are shooting 42.4%. And somehow we're still knocking down the 3 at 36.3% over the last 5, compared to the Pistons, they're shooting 30.1% over the last 5. So as you can see, this Piston teams over the last 5 games have not been great offensively. And with replacement players, I'm not expecting much from them. This is more so about the Knicks than it is about the Pistons. This is about us picking up our pants and going out there. I said it yesterday, punching the team in the mouth, which we did. We got a 17-point lead, but then we allowed them to come back. So there should be a game where it should be curtains closed early and allow us to rest some of our starters that played heavy minutes last night.
100%. 100%. That's what I'm expecting. More so tonight than last night. Last night you remember, I was worried about last night's game. I was worried about them because even the guys who they put out on the floor, I mean, and also the way they had played against the Celtics the night before
and won.
Yeah, and won. So, we're our weakness is taking weaker opponents for granted. But in this case,
we play down to our comp.
Yeah, but in this case, the Pistons are so way below. I mean, they're a whole other, 2 or 3 levels below what we even saw last night. Right now, with everyone.
You think so? I think the Pistons are better than the Timberwolves. I said it last night. The Timberwolves.
You mean the guys that are going to play though tonight?
Well, we got
no Cade, no Hayes.
No Cade, but they've got Sadiq Bey, Luka Garza.
Sadiq Bey is the most inefficient shooter in the NBA right now.
True, but he's still giving us trouble at times.
Yeah. Frank Jackson can hurt us.
Yeah, Frank Jackson used to ball out for New Orleans. I had him in fantasy years ago.
But Grant is out. Olynyk is out.
Yeah, their top players are out, but I still think the remaining roster is going to be more difficult than the Timberwolves, even though that's not saying much. Yeah. Seeing that it's a bunch of replacement players. Even though we got to start putting some respect on their names. These are still talented NBA players. They're just not the cream of the crop in the world.
Right.
Oh, and we've got the Knicks starting lineup as well. We got Kimba, Fournier, RJ Barrett, Julius Randle, and Mitchell Robinson.
That's our starting lineup. What is the Pistons starting lineup?
Oh, we just put it up. Frank Jackson.
Oh, there we go.
Derek Walton Jr., Diallo, Sadiq Bey, and Luka Garza. I know a lot of Knicks fans are going to be interested. They wanted us to get Luka Garza in the draft.
Yeah.
Ended up going with Sims.
I like Luka in general, but he's talk about slow. he moves as fast as a redwood tree. That guy.
That was a good one, George. Citizen X saying Deuce isn't getting minutes tonight. I don't want to hear that.
Oh,
don't say that, Citizen. He's got to get minutes. We can't keep. What is it? Kimba's averaging like around 37, 38 minutes since he's returned. He can't keep that up.
That knee.
And now he's playing back-to-backs.
Yeah. I hope you're wrong on that one, Citizen.
Yeah, me too. Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Got a talented backup point guard in Deuce. It all comes down to Tibbs figuring out how to use him and get him some minutes.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
It's crazy. Tibbs will play Grimes 30 minutes, and he's the 25th overall pick, but he won't play our 8th overall pick and the extended minutes. What's Obi's high in minutes? 23, 24?
I think
this season? Right around there, yeah.
Yeah.
And you've got Grimes a couple games back from COVID playing 31 minutes.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
It's good. A lot of it is because Obi's 3-point shot is just not consistent yet. I really do believe if Obi was connecting even just 35% of the time, I think he'd get a lot more burn on the floor. He'd share time with Julius. You can't have a guy who's a slasher, who's a rim runner. It doesn't give you the consistent 3-point shooting when you also have Julius and Mitch on the court.
Well, we can go small ball. I bet you Obi and Julius Randle are better shooters as a combo than Julius Randle and Mitch. And we run that combo out majority of the game. So why can't Tibbs be creative and find a way to get those two out there on the court together?
I'm with you, man. But it's the rim, the lack of rim protection, the lack of defensive intensity in the paint. That's the other issue. But I've seen Obi
get better
come a long way.
Defenders out there then, so we can get better, so we can stop penetration and not allow guys to get into the lane so easy.
Yeah,
we've got the pieces. It's just Tibbs doesn't want to put all the ingredients together.
Yep.
You can run a lineup out there with Deuce, Grimes, RJ, Obi, and Randle, and still have solid defense to get you through 3 or 4 minutes in a game.
Absolutely. I mean, basically, what it would be is it would be Julius at the 5 and Obi at the 4, which works because
Randall's played the 5 before.
Yeah. And I've after analyzing Randle this season, his play, the conclusion I came to is basically Julius has to play like a 5. He needs to shoot less, and but he needs to distribute the ball. So he needs to be kind of a stretch 5 per se. get at least 4+ assists per game, and he needs to crash the boards, at least 10+ rebounds per game, and hit at least just 1 of 3 of his 3-point attempts. If we were to do all that, and when he does that, we win 2 out of every 3 games, we would be a 0.667 winning franchise. So that means,
make sure you add that 7 at the end. It would have been crazy if you didn't round up.
I rounded it up. Yeah, but I mean, we would be basically, if he played more like a Jokic, like a smaller Jokic, without handling the ball as much, not dribbling it. When it comes to
get
him,
the ball and make a quick decision.
Exactly. And if he's got an advantage with his guy, take it. But a shot goes up, crash the boards, get it out to the wings, the ball. After you get the rebound, you run down. I mean, there is a style of play that's within Julius's wheelhouse that can take this team to a whole other level. Now, whether he's willing to do it or not, because it requires a lot of banging every night.
It also requires Kemba to play well, too, because he's got to be willing to defer. And, if Kemba's playing well, then, like I said before, we will get that blueprint. And regardless of who's starting at point guard, we can at least say, okay, this is how we want to play.
Check out this just a simple stat. When Julius gets 10 rebounds or more, the Knicks are 12-6 this season. Just that alone. When he gets 10 rebounds or more and hits 33.3% of his 3-pointers or better, we're 6-0. So
that's hustle and hitting your shots.
Exactly. But when he takes more than 18 shots, doesn't matter what, when he takes more than 18 shots, the Knicks are 4-7. So the formula's there. It's just whether you want to lean into it or not.
George, before we wrap up, though, quick thoughts on RJ. We were talking all this time. We didn't even get into RJ.
Yeah, we didn't get into RJ.
Crazy.
I know. You know what? I really am not worried about RJ personally myself, but I know that out there the fan base is, and so I'm feeling that. And it's making me kind of like look at it again and maybe second guess my own self about it. But I'm really not worried about him. This guy, his whole life, he's been at the top level of performing. Now, whether he has the athleticism to do that in the NBA, we shall see. But he definitely has the ability to be a winning player in the NBA. I think a lot of us get too caught up in the fact that he was a number 3 pick. That's irrelevant now. That's what you consider a sunk cost. It's done. It's over. What do we have now? We have someone who could potentially be a really top level 2-way player. Now, by top level, do we mean top 25 player? I think he still has a chance to be in that lower end of the top, maybe 25 to 30 players in the NBA at some point. I think he has that. He's still only 21. But even if he was a top 50 player, that's good enough to win. It's good enough to get to the finals with if you have other great, because of his defense and his understanding of how to impact winning. His fourth quarter, if you look at his fourth quarters, he often saves our ass when we're stagnating. And ironically, he and Fournier are 2, and Burks are 3 best clutch fourth quarter players. But so I'm not that worried about him. But I definitely respect and understand the doubts and the feelings that the fan base is having. I just think we got to give it a little more time with him.
I'm not too concerned about RJ, but he's going to have to start producing. I'll give him a little bit of time. He's coming back from COVID, so you have to account that. But you start looking at what players that were drafted behind him are doing, and it's like, we could have used Garland. But we still don't have an answer at point.
But we're also prisoners of the moment. Let's see a year from now what's happening.
I hear you.
But I hear
that's why he still has more time. But time's ticking because we do have to make a decision on RJ, and I don't think RJ has shown us anything to say we should go out there and max him. And that's my issue. Not that RJ can't develop into a solid contributing player. It's the fact that we have to make a major financial decision.
Fournier is out. Alec Burks will start. Evan Fournier is out. Alec Burks will start. Why? Why is Alec Burks starting?
Did you see my live reaction? I'm trying to figure out why too.
Why isn't it Grimes?
I'm not complaining. Well, yeah, that probably would be the complaint. Get Grimes in there, but I'm not complaining if Evan Fournier is going to miss some time. Hopefully, nothing serious and it's just rest.
Oh, Grimes starting.
No, Grimes is starting.
No, Tommy Beer just tweeted. Oh no, there's conflicting. Fred Katz and Knicks PR tweeted out that Burks will start. Tommy Beer tweeted out that Grimes is starting.
So who do we listen to? Knicks PR or Beer?
I mean, Beer's my guy, but Knicks PR is a total different.
You got to take it from the horse's mouth.
Yeah,
I'm shocked they're still announcing.
Oh, just to call something out. Before RJ got hurt, he was still the most efficient three-point shooter of his draft class in this calendar year, going back for January 1st, 2021, to the point where he got hurt, where he got hurt, the stomach ache game. He was better than Hero, better than Garland, better than everybody else in that draft class. He was the best three-point shooter this calendar year. That means the last 4 months, 5 months of last season and the first 2 months of this season. Now, that might be different now because he's definitely taken a downturn, but and other guys.
The only thing I would say with those two is they've at least shown a sustained level of high play, of not elite play, but they've been giving you a couple weeks, a few weeks of high level basketball. We haven't seen that from RJ. We see a couple games and then we see him take a little dip, and then he'll come back and we'll see a resurgence. I mean, last season, yeah, RJ was better toward the second half, but there was still some.
He shot
some
45% from the three in the last 50 games last year.
That's his 3-point shooting, but that's not. Yeah, there's more to basketball than just shooting threes.
Yeah,
there's other aspects of his game that kind of left him at times last season. But I got faith in him, but we've got to start seeing something, man. The clock's got to start ticking at some point. Yeah. He's up for an extension this offseason.
Clock is ticking. Clock is ticking.
I haven't seen enough to say, okay, he's a max player that we need to keep long term.
Yeah. And, by the way, that's not the end of the world if he's not a max player. In fact, that's probably better for us.
Might be the end of the world because I think he thinks he's a max player. And that's where the issue arises. If he thinks he's a max player and wants max money like Ayton, but we're saying we haven't seen it and we can't make that type of investment, that's when we really have, we're in big trouble at that moment.
But numbers
and that's what I'm trying to avoid.
Yeah, numbers are numbers. So we'll see in May where he's at. If he's still the same guy that we're seeing now in May, where he has 2-3 games where he's awesome, and then he has 4 or 5 games where he's not, then he has one good game, one back, totally inconsistent guy, and still getting burned on back doors, still getting blocked at such a high rate. If he's still that guy,
you saw Randle getting blocked at a high rate by what was his name, McDaniels?
Yeah,
I'm like,
2 blocks, right? 2 or 3 blocks.
3. I feel like it was 3.
Alder Almo tweeted out, with Grimes in the starting lineup, Miles McBride could see minutes in the second unit alongside IQ and Burks. So it is going to be Grimes. What you mean? Regardless of Fournier playing or not, dude should have been seeing minutes. That's just how he put his tweet. That's just how he phrased it.
Oh, for the SEO.
Yeah. For the SEO, exactly.
All right, I hear you. So we'll wrap it up here, George. Thank you for holding it down. I think we hit 200 in chat at one point.
Oh yeah, awesome. This is great.
Yeah. Thank you guys.
Hey, you guys hit the thumbs up for us? That'd be awesome.
Facts. Right now we're at 89. Would have liked to get to 100, but you can't get there every time. But appreciate
the game started. We're like yakking away.
Yeah, right. Hey, time flies when you're having fun. One day we're gonna set them up and turn this into a watch along, and they won't
even fun. We should do a good watch along. We'll get JD and Foxy in on it too. That'd be a fun watch along.
It'll just end up being halftime, and we'll say, "Hey, we got you."
Yeah,
we should do that on April's Fools. That'd be funny.
Be hilarious, man.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Appreciate it. Want to give a quick shout out before we go. Julian Blum, Jeffrey, Norco, Michael Rest. He disagrees with me, but I understand we can disagree and still love our Knicks and love RJ. So thank you guys for tuning in for the entirety of the show.
Rick Pennington, we surveyed 100 people. Thank you guys for joining us, man. Love you guys.
Salute to Rick too. We also submitted a topic for our stream on Sunday with me and Foxy. So thank you guys for everything. We're gonna close the show now, and hopefully we can get this win easily.
Yeah,
because I'm not trying to bite my nails in the fourth quarter, not against the Pistons.
No way, man. No way.
All right. So thank you guys for tuning in, and we're out.